So we played Vanquish for the 360. Recently ported to the computer,
Yeah.
PC. That's where Christian played it.
Yeah, that's right.
What'd you think?
So, I've never played Vanquish before, but I've heard amazing things about this game forever. And so, thanks to the PC port, I was finally able to play it. And I have extremely mixed feelings about Vanquish.
Not sure if you've noticed, but your new friends don't seem too fond of you.
Okay. Now, does that mean you have medium feelings, or does that mean you have really, really high feelings and very low feelings?
A lot of my feelings for Vanquish are in the middle ground that you
In the
described.
middle?
Yeah.
Okay. I get that.
Okay. How do you feel about Vanquish?
Vanquish in my mind was like this beautiful, or in my memory, because I played it a long time ago, it was like this beautiful Zen video game.
Yeah.
And it's not that at all, really.
No. Yeah.
I was kind of bummed out. I still had a really good time with it. I think it's a fun game that is one of the better representations of its genre, but in my memory, it was a lot more than that.
Yeah, so Vanquish, I feel like it's trying to shoot for kind of a movement-based, movement-focused, third-person shooter deal
Yeah.
with an emphasis on quick, fast movement. But I feel like the game is not really structured in such a way that you can take advantage of the movement mechanics that the game gives you. For example, early on, I was having problems dying to the grunt soldiers a lot, like the random grunt guys, because if you pop out of cover, they just laser in on you, and then they all just fire at you.
Yeah.
So if you want to like move out of cover and do some kind of maneuvering or something like that, and take advantage of the movement options available, they just gun you down in like 5 seconds, regardless of how fast you're moving, and your slow-mo bar is very limited.
Are we going to get into, is this leading into the technical issue, or is this just like
No,
game
this,
design?
Yeah, this also, it persisted to some extent after the technical issue as well, especially in the earlier sections of the game where most of the enemies that you're fighting are just little grunt guys. A lot of the fun that you can have is limited because of the general damage that everything deals to you and the ability of things to just hit scan on your position.
Yeah.
And like lots of the bigger guys, they have weak spots on their back, so it's obvious that you're supposed to try and maneuver your way around them to hit that weak spot on the back. But if they're targeting you, they'll just automatically lock onto you, and you can't get behind them no matter what you do. And that feels like a definite limitation and a bit of an oversight, and it feels like it hampers the mobility focus of the game, if you understand what I'm saying.
I do.
Did you feel the same issues while you were playing it?
I don't think I did, but
Okay.
I think I felt a similar issue, which is that, and I think maybe we should just kind of explain what this game is, or who you are, and this is Platinum Games, who made Bayonetta, and they made Metal Gear Rising,
Revengeance?
some really good games, some not so great games, but a lot of like action, a lot of like stylish action games. And this is kind of them doing like a Gears of War type game, like a cover-based shooter. And it all takes place on this like Babylon 5 space station, and you're fighting the Russians. You're fighting like robot Russians,
Yep.
which I think is actually really cute because they're all they're red robots, so you're like fighting the Reds, and it's cute. It's like the Reds are coming. I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought it was
okay.
cute.
Yeah.
And you have like these rocket boosters on your knees, basically, and you have this ability to kind of boost around the gameplay environment, which I think feels really good, and I think that's a really cool idea. What doesn't feel good is that it's tied to this like energy bar, basically, because if you use it too much, your suit overheats, and your suit also overheats if you use a melee attack.
Yeah.
And your suit also overheats if you use like the slow-mo aiming thing too much. And your suit also overheats if you get hit too much. It kind of like kicks in this mode to kind of keep you alive, where everything's in slow-mo. But once that, and you have no control over that, and once it runs out, then you have to wait for your suit to recharge. Which is kind of a long way of saying that they give you a lot of tools that make it seem like this game should be a ton of fun to play because you're just jetting around doing cool stuff, but they actually limit you a lot on how that works, and they don't really do anything over the course of the game to make you feel like you're getting more powerful in that sense. Until the very, very, very end of the game, which is kind of cool, I kind of appreciate it where he's like, take the limiters off. Because you're fighting the last guy, and she's like, no, it'll kill you. And he's like, it'll kill me if I don't use it. And then she takes the limiters off, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's advantageous to you usually to just kind of sit behind cover and play it like Gears of War.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah.
I hate Gears of War, so.
Yeah, that was a big problem for me too, where the game, they give you these movement mechanics, and then, like, even though it was a fairly small percentage of the time, but I was still spending a large chunk of my time sitting behind cover, waiting for them to pop up and then just shooting them. Which is, I feel like something that lots of more recent mobility-based games have gotten past.
Okay.
And have been able to capitalize on the promise of what I feel like Vanquish was aiming to achieve.
Yeah.
Stuff like the new Doom game, or something like Titanfall 2.
Yeah.
Where you're running around, zipping around, and dodging bullets and shooting things.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, like Titanfall 2 seems like a very clear successor to like these ideas, but done way better.
Yeah, and that's not to say none of the movement feels bad or anything. There's a very solid foundation here. It's just the game that they built around it is just, it doesn't capitalize on what they put into it.
Or it certainly doesn't like lead you to do flashier or more exciting moves, and it doesn't reward you really for doing it. But I think over the course of the game, at least I started to feel more comfortable experimenting with that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the game, I was doing a lot more like boosting up to someone, meleeing them, and then like slow-mo in the air, taking out more guys.
Yeah.
I played the game a lot differently towards the end than I did towards the beginning, and that's why I think I liked it more as I went, because I started to play it more like I felt like it should be played, even though it's not really built into the game to do that. It was something I kind of had to undertake.
I don't think it was by any means a bad game, but I just feel like it's, like I said before, it's a promise that's been capitalized on better in more recent games, to such an extent that I don't know if it warrants playing this game.
Aww.
Yeah, I know. I just don't feel like...
Yeah.
The story, we could bring up the story. The story is kind of throwaway. There's cliches left and right.
So throwaway. I don't think this game is a parody. I think people think it's a parody because it feels like it should be.
Yeah.
But they're really just doing like a Gears of War storyline.
Yeah.
There's no wink to it. No. It's just like gruff dudes shooting people, and then it's over. And it's like there's a couple moments where it's like so over the top that it's like, okay, they knew what they were doing. But a lot of the time it just feels like, okay, we got to get to this point. Okay, blow up all the robots. And then the gruff guy's angry at you because you're stylish. And then the stylish guy is stylish. And then you're like Anya, basically. And they like hug at the end because... Of course they do, and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. There's lots of obvious story beats that they're hitting on, obvious cliches that they're getting to, that I understand what kind of beats they're trying to hit, but none of them connect at all.
No. It's because there really aren't any until like the last chapter. Most of the time you're just like, we got to get to the next fight. Yeah.
And I actually did enjoy a lot of the cutscenes that weren't the story fluff, because the characters are doing pretty cool stuff in the cutscenes.
Oh yeah.
That I wish you were doing in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Like I wish I could do these cool moves that this guy's doing, and then it kicks you back into like cover-based shooter.
Yeah. Because some of the stuff in the cutscenes is just amazing.
Yeah, there's some really good fight scenes that they eke out.
Yeah, but the story is. And you don't play this game for the story. I don't think you play a Platinum game for the story unless Nier Automata is any different.
Bayonetta had a really interesting story.
Oh, okay. I can't attest to that. The only two Platinum games I've played is Transformers Devastation and this one.
Okay.
So there's a pretty big gaping hole in my Platinum experience.
I guess I was just waiting for like Bayonetta to happen.
Yeah.
Where like things get really weird.
Yeah.
And it never really happens. It's just like, even at the end of the game, there's like you said, there's like these awesome action set pieces that they go through in these cutscenes where he's like hanging off the ledge in the middle of like zero gravity space reactor smoking. And it looks really cool. But even the last boss fights, you're just fighting something you've already fought. But there's two of them, and it's like, in Bayonetta, there's like, every boss is like 12 bosses because you fight it and then you beat it, but then it like grows into like this giant version of it and just keeps getting crazier.
Whoa.
And this game has like 4 giant robots that you see a bunch and that's like as crazy as it gets.
Yeah.
It's kind of disappointing.
Yeah. Another aspect of this game, especially on PC, is that some of the sections had pacing issues. There were parts, especially on-rail sections, where you're on this cart and it's going from one location to the next. And there's like 10 bad guys you have to shoot.
Yeah.
And you shoot the 10 bad guys, and then you sit there and do nothing for the other 4 or 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you're just sitting there waiting for it to get to the end.
I was actually wondering about that. I think it's because they expect it to take longer or something.
Yeah, that's what I thought too, being on
Where it's
PC.
like-
But
yeah,
that was
it's
an
really
issue on
weird.
console too, huh?
Yeah, because like there's no music or anything. You're
Yeah.
just kind of standing there while this like monorail just kind of slowly puts its way into the station, and it's like, this isn't exciting.
Yeah. But when there are bad guys, it's pretty fun. I mean, the shooting is executed well enough. I mean, you can tell that the game was not developed around third-person shooting being the forefront of the mechanics, because it seems like the movement was supposed to be at the forefront. When you're shooting, your aim doesn't so much matter as much as just aiming in the general direction, because your bullet spread is pretty wide.
Yeah.
But if you get like a headshot, it's pretty satisfying. The robot's heads like explode and it does way more damage. So all that stuff's well and good. And when there's a lot of enemies, it can be satisfying just rushing in there, slow-mowing, and then just popping off 5 of their heads. Yeah, it's a fun time, but yeah, it just doesn't feel like they quite made it.
Yeah.
They were so
It
close.
feels like something's missing.
Yeah, they sequel baited the heck out of this game though.
Yeah, they sure did.
I was like, okay, there's gonna be another chapter. Oh, okay, nope. Never mind.
Yeah, it's a very short game.
It is.
Very
It is
short.
incredibly short. Yeah, I died
Yeah.
a ton, and it took me 5 hours to finish it.
Yeah. Yeah, same here.
Yeah, it's a short one, and I don't know if I can even say it would be worth your time. But for $20, that's how much it is for the re-release. That's
Yeah.
not a bad price. I feel like that's about how much this game is worth at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, 60 when it came out seems kind of bonkers.
Yeah, and it seems like lots of Platinum games of late have, like Transformers Devastation, that didn't come out at full price.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was very much in the same vein, where you just have this nice, sweet 5-hour action beat 'em up thing.
I don't mind it a short game, especially when it's kind of like this, where it's just kind of very repetitive and you're just kind of going through sections.
Oh, absolutely. It can almost all the time, I would argue, is better than the alternative, which is this long, drawn-out open world game where you're spending 1 hour getting in between your destinations.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to savage this game. It's like there's no lame like escort missions or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it does kind of mess with what you're doing, it's usually pretty successful at making it more interesting. Like when you're on the monorail or whatever halfway through, and like the other monorail is like going upside down, and you're like fighting
Yeah.
guys upside down and stuff. I thought that. I mean, I felt like I was engaged through the entire.
Yeah.
I had a good time.
Yeah, there are definitely some cooler set pieces in the game.
How'd you feel about the weapon upgrade system?
So
Because I thought a lot about it.
I didn't completely understand the weapon upgrade system when I was first playing. For maybe my first hour or two, I didn't completely understand what was going on.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty clever idea how if you pick up a weapon, you get that weapon, and then if the weapon is full on ammo, then
Yeah.
if you pick up the same gun, you get a incremental upgrade to it. And then if you get like 4 of those upgrades, then you actually get a stat boost to the gun or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting.
Yeah,
I know I'd sent you that message when I was getting really frustrated with it. I'm like, oh, this is just Ratchet and Clank. Because that was when I got one of them fully upgraded. And I was like, well, now I'm not going to use this gun anymore because it's fully upgraded. And that sucks. But that's actually not true because... because when you die, it takes away rank from any guns you have.
Yep.
Which is, I think, really a cool way to punish death in this game where otherwise it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And also, it kind of incentivizes you to keep that weapon because you want to have your other weapons at full ammo in order to upgrade them. But you also want to have them on retainer in case you need them. I don't know. It makes you think about what guns you're taking with you in a way that I think most games don't. And I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when you told me that it was like Ratchet and Clank, where when you upgrade your weapon all the way, you don't want to use that weapon anymore. Yeah, I was starting to feel the opposite, where when I upgraded a weapon all the way, I wanted to use exclusively that weapon as much
Yeah.
as I could, so that I wouldn't use the ammo from my other guns, so that if I found those, I could upgrade those instead.
Yeah. It kind of keeps you on your toes in a cool way. I can't really think of any other games that have used a system like that before.
No, yeah, it's the way that they explain it to you and introduce it is a little bit obtuse.
Yeah.
And that's why it took me like 2 hours to figure out exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
And every time you do upgrade it, it upgrades a different part of that gun. Like sometimes it'll just be like weapon
Like
ammo
magazine
capacity.
size, yeah.
And at first, when I first like started noticing the upgrades, they were capacity upgrades. I'm like, oh, is this all the upgrades do? But
This
then
sucks.
and then
Yeah.
I noticed that it was actually more than that.
Yeah.
And they're incremental, fairly small upgrades in such a way that if you pick up a gun that isn't completely upgraded, it doesn't
Yeah.
feel completely useless.
And it also kind of frees you to be like, well, screw that gun.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use that gun. I'm going to work on these other guns. And you don't really feel bad about it because it's not about getting them all upgraded.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I really came around on it. I think it's a really cool system.
Yeah, I thought it's a better system than lots of other games implement,
Yeah.
especially for this type of game.
At
And-
the same time, though, I feel like once... I don't know. I got the heavy machine gun all the way up, and
Yep.
you can just tear through that game
Yeah.
when you get that all the way up, because it's just like one-shot kill on most of the... It was still very challenging.
Yeah, this game was at times surprisingly difficult.
Yeah, and it's a lot of like, oh, there's a giant robot next to me, and he stepped on me, and now I'm dead. I
Yeah.
don't know. Some
Yeah.
cheap deaths going on.
Yeah, there was a couple of sections where like the big guy started firing this giant, really loud, obnoxious death beam thing that kept on
Yeah.
getting me somehow.
Out of the chest where they're
Yep.
like...
Yeah, and that thing like kept killing me, and the noise when it killed me was just obnoxious and made my ears bleed,
Yeah.
which made me really not want to die to those guys afterwards.
Yeah.
But something that this game does not screw up is almost all the boss fights. I thought all of them
Yeah.
were pretty well done, despite just being bullet sponges.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a good way to do third-person shooter bosses.
Yeah, I really, 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 really like the unknown.
Oh yeah,
Just the pile of like garbage that with the little dude that runs around.
yeah, that's one that I like too. It pops up a couple of times, and I was totally okay with it because it's a fun little boss fight and takes advantage of like the slow mo mechanics. Because when
Yeah.
the little guy gets out of all the junk, you want to slow
Yeah.
down time so you can just blow up his little glowy thingy.
Yeah. And I felt like by like the third time you fight him, I was like, okay, I know how to deal with this, and I just like destroyed him. Whereas the first time I fought him,
Yeah.
he got me with like the where he like snaps his jaw at you basically. Like,
Yep.
Yeah. Felt good.
Yeah, that was a fun little boss fight.
I didn't like the Crystal Viper as much though.
Yeah, he's just a bullet sponge, and then he'll disappear, and then you kind of gotta mash the button to just black his
Yeah.
hit.
That felt really out of place to me, where it's like, now it's Bayonetta for like half a second, and if
Yeah,
you
there-
screwed up,
There are some weird little quick time events in here, but
yeah,
they're not
for like
not at all egregious.
no, but there's like 3 of them in the whole game, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't think they're very good either. I don't like the way they did the stick icon.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
I
I'm just an
understand
idiot,
that.
but I was like, which way am I going? I don't know.
Yeah, understandable.
Then you just do it again.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I feel like this game was good, but I don't know if it's one of the greats.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
I think it's worth playing though. I think it's like 4 hours, 5 hours. I think it's fun.
Yeah, you got much worse ways to spend 4 hours.
Yeah.
You could spend 4 hours doing nothing in other bigger games.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
But as far as socketing this, this might be the worst game we've played. I don't know.
So we got Rise Star. It's not better than Rise Star.
No way.
Okay. We got Psychonauts.
No.
Not better than Psychonauts.
No.
We got Metroid Prime. Not better than Metroid Prime.
No. Resident Evil. That's
Evil.
That's a bit of a more interesting point.
I enjoyed myself a lot more playing Vanquish than I did playing Resident
Yeah,
Evil.
I feel like Resident Evil has lower lows, but also higher highs.
Yeah. I don't know, man. The first time you fight that giant spider robot, and when you kill it, it just shoots out like a zillion rockets, and you're just boosting around in slow motion while like a billion rockets are all flying around. That's a
Yeah.
pretty high, Christian.
That is pretty great. I don't know though. What else are you is pulling you towards Vanquish here?
I don't think I am getting pulled towards Vanquish. I think we put it at the bottom.
I think
if
that's
that
so
sounds good to you.
sad though, but I've heard this game has been talked up so much over like the past 5 years, probably because so few people have played it and so few people can attest to how good or great it is.
Yeah. I think putting it out on PC was a weird thing.
Yeah. But I'm glad that I can say I experienced it.
Very vocal minority, I think, was calling for this game to get re-released. And I don't think it's going to help this game's legacy that more people are playing it now.
Yeah, I suppose not, but I mean, they made 20 more bucks off me. And probably a few 100,000 more people out there.
Yeah. But I just don't think, I think it's going to hurt the way the public perceives this game, because I think when it was just this weird little game that came out, people would be like, oh yeah, it's this like lost gem, but now that it's like, here's this kind of ugly Gears of War ripoff.
Yeah.
It's got a really good credits sequence.
Yeah, that was cute.
I don't know.
The game doesn't, from a visual standpoint also, I feel like it doesn't stand out as much as other Platinum games.
No, it's so ugly.
Yeah,
I hate it.
It's like in some future where everything is silver, gray, or white.
It's that everything's dirty and grungy, and all the people look like garbage, and
yeah,
I don't know. It's not at all how I remember it looking, which is weird. Because obviously, it always looked like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that is strange.
I don't know. But last time we did this, I said there were no bad games on this list. I still think that's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think this is just at the bottom.
Yeah, I think so too. I believe you're right on that front.
It's a bummer.
Yeah. You can't win them all, right?